Hi, my name is Manuel. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this session on intercultural values in global companies. In today's interconnected world, businesses are no longer confined by borders. They thrive on diversity, but embracing cultural differences is not enough. True progress comes when companies actively commit to anti-racism, inclusivity, and equity. Over the next hour, we will explore what it truly means to foster intercultural values in the workplace, why these principles are crucial for global businesses, and how organizations are turning them into tangible strategies. This goes beyond policies and confidence. It's about building environments where employees from every background feel valued, respected, and empowered to succeed. So I have here the table of contents. I'm going to make you an introduction. Next, I'm going to talk about the relevance of intercultural skills, the cultural values in a multinational company, the challenges, the main strategies. I'm going to finish my intervention talking about benefits. So, the first thing we have to think about why is this topic important. So the need for anti-racism in business goes beyond moral obligations. It addresses systemic inequalities that hinder growth, innovation, and trust. Companies today must move past passive inclusion to actively dismantle racism in their operations, culture, and leadership. Doing so, they can set a standard for equitable practices that resonate with employees, customers, and society at large. As we proceed, I encourage you to think critically about the examples and strategies we discussed and consider how these ideas might apply in your future workplaces. Let's explore how businesses can lead change and foster true equity in their multicultural world. I must say that the rise of globalization and interconnectedness has made diversity and inclusion core elements of successful business strategies. Intercultural values defined by respect for cultural differences, empathy, collaboration across diverse groups are integral to the functioning of multicultural companies. However, promoting anti-racism goes a step further. It means actively combating systemic biases, addressing inequities, and fostering an environment where diversity is celebrated and discrimination is eradicated. Global companies are increasingly engaging in efforts to promote anti-racism, diversity, and inclusion. These values are essential for companies that operate across countries and cultures as they ensure respect, equity, and harmonious workplace environment. We will explore the importance of intercultural and anti-racist values, practical strategies companies are implementing, and the broader impact of these initiatives on global business. The concept of anti-racism is business extends beyond merely avoiding discrimination. It encompasses proactive steps to create a workplace where employees of all backgrounds are valued and have equal opportunities for growth and advancement. This exploration will analyze the critical role of anti-racism policies, leadership, commitment, diversity, training, and multicultural team management in fostering inclusivity and equality. So, why anti-racism matters in business? So I must say that businesses are microcosmos of society. In a world where racial inequities persist, companies have a responsibility to lead by example, I must say. Anti-racism in business is not only a moral imperative, but also a strategic one. A diverse, inclusive workforce drives innovations, enhance decision making and reflects the demographics of global markets. Studies such as those from McKinsey in the Boston Consulting Group consistently show that diverse companies outperform their less inclusive counterparts financially and culturally. So, the importance of interculturality skills in global companies. As you can see here in the graphic, we have the private ones, the public ones, and the NGO. This is a graphic about the business benefits employees having intercultural skills. You could see here, good for reputation, bring in new clients, build trust for clients, communicate with partners, um, able to work with diverse colleagues, keep teams running efficiently. So, as you know, intercultural skills comprising cultural awareness, sensitivity, and adaptability have become indispensable in modern workplaces, particularly in global companies. Organizations that prioritize intercultural competence see significant benefits in team performance, communications, and overall businesses succeed. In an increasingly interconnected world, organizations are made up of diverse teams with employees from varying cultural backgrounds, each bringing their own perspectives, ideas, and ways of working. Intercultural skills allow individuals to interact harmoniously, minimizing misunderstandings and maximizing collaboration. So, Uh, these skills are crucial for several reasons. We have the three main reasons. The enhanced communication, different cultures have different communication styles, and intercultural skills help bridge these gaps. For instance, while some cultures prefer direct and explicit communication, others may favor indirect communications where meaning is inferred rather than stated as right. Improve teamwork and collaboration. Teams made up of diverse individuals can bring innovative ideas and solutions to the table. However, this requires some understanding on how to navigate different cultural expectations and work styles. Intercultural skills help in managing these differences, leading to more effectively collaboration. And the last one would be conflict resolution. Um, Cultural misunderstandings often lead to conflict in multicultural teams. Employees with strong intercultural skills are better equipped to handle and resolve conflicts in a constructive manner, ensuring them cohesion and productivity. For example, organizations with high intercultural competences perform better in cross-cultural negotiations in international markets, which is crucial in a competitive global economy. Companies that follow intercultural competences um, create a work environment where employees are not only able to collaborate effectively, but also contribute to their unique strengths to the team. So, um, I'm going to make a little bit clear what I have said before. So the first thing, we have these values, so the importance of intercultural anti-racism values in global businesses. As we have mentioned, intercultural values from the backbone of any successful multinational organization. These values encourage mutual respect, adaptability, and understanding among employees from diverse cultural, racial, and ethnic backgrounds. For example, the respect for cultural differences. Employees from hierarchical cultures, for example, Japan, may expect decision making to rest with senior leaders, while those from egalitarian cultures, for example, Sweden, may expect a collaborative approach. Understanding and respecting these differences prevent miscommunication and foster cooperation. On the other hand, we have the empathy and open-mindedness. Empathy allows employees to put themselves in others' shoes, a crucial skill for reducing workplace tensions. Open-minded approach helps them to leverage diverse perspectives, problem solving. The relevance of anti-racism in business. So, as we have mentioned, globalization has increased diversity in the workplace, with employees of various cultural backgrounds working together. Anti-racism values ensure that each employee feels secure and respected, creating an environment that fosters productivity and innovation. Studies indicate that diverse teams are more creative, make better business decisions, leading to greater profitability and sustainability. So, we have the impact of the intercultural values global business. In multinational corporations, intercultural values lay the groundwork for trust and collaboration. These values include empathy, open-mindedness, respect for differences, and commitment to fair treatment. A workplace to embody these principles can attract top talent from around the world, create positive brand perception, and enhance employee satisfaction. And diverse perspectives can also drive innovation by bringing together unique insights from different backgrounds. In fact, according to the studies by the McKinsey Institute, companies with greater diversity are 30% more likely to outperform their less diverse peers. Um, so we have here the role of cultural values in multinational companies. As we have mentioned, cultural values deeply influence how employees from different regions approach work. Cultural differences impact various aspects for work life, such as leadership, communication, team management, and decision making. For example, in high context cultures like Japan or Saudi Arabia, communication tends to be more implicit, where meaning is derived from the context of relationships and not verbal cues. In contrast, in low context cultures such as the US or Germany, communication is direct and explicit, focusing more on the content of the message rather than the context. These differences, cultural values can lead to misunderstanding if not managed appropriately. For example, in many Western cultures, individualism is highly valued. Employees are encouraged to take initiative and make decisions independently. In collectives, cultures such as those of Asian countries, the is on teamwork, group harmony, and consensus building. And decisions are often made by senior members of the group. And these cultural preferences can affect, as I have mentioned, of how teams collaborate, how decisions are made, and how authority is perceived. It is essential for managers to recognize these cultural values and adjust their leadership styles accordingly. Effectively, leadership in multicultural teams requires flexibility and the ability to adapt one's approach based on the team's cultural makeup. A leader who understands the cultural context can avoid potential conflicts, enhance team morale, and ensure that each team member's strengths are utilized effectively. For example, in a multinational team, a manager might need to adjust their approach when working with colleagues from different cultural backgrounds. A team from cultural from a culture that values hierarchy may expect a more authoritative top-down approach, while a team from a more egalitarian culture may appreciate a collaborative, participatory leadership style. Adapting to these preferences fosters trust and respect within the learner. So, on the we have here like the main core elements of an anti-racism business strategy. This is what I have mentioned. So, high context and low context cultures. High context cultures implies communication relying on the context of nonverbal cues. Western continents versus ASEAN countries. The ASEAN talk about teamwork, group harmony, and group decision, as I mentioned, while the Western companies talk about individualism, take the initiative, and independent decision. So here I have some core elements of an anti-racism business strategy. I'm going to show you these differences. Oh, these strategies. So we have here the strategy.
A team of people from diverse cultural backgrounds can have tremendous benefits, like knowledge of different markets and culturally sensitive customer service. Of course, that's when things are running smoothly. Unfortunately, cultural differences within teams can create obstacles to effective teamwork. How can a manager resolve these problems or even prevent them? The answer lies in knowing four main types of challenges and four main strategies for dealing with multicultural teams. Let's start with the challenges. The first is communication style. Western cultures tend to speak directly, while in many other cultures it's considered more polite to be indirect. This mismatch can cause friction and misunderstandings. Another challenge is language fluency. When non-native speakers struggle to find the right words, the team might not take their point of view seriously, even when they should. A third issue is authority. Some cultures are okay with flat organizational structures, while others are used to a formal hierarchy. Behavior that's perceived as respectful in one culture may not be seen that way in the other. Lastly, there are differences in how decisions are made. Conflicts arise when some team members make decisions quickly versus slowly, or analytically versus instinctively. Now on to the four main strategies for addressing these challenges. The most desirable is adaptation, which acknowledges cultural gaps and finds ways to work around them. This works well, but requires creativity, self-awareness, and time. A second option is structural intervention, where projects or tasks are reassigned to reduce friction or to compel team members to get to know each other better. Then there's managerial intervention. Managers can set ground rules and step in when there's a need for someone with authority. As a last resort, there's the exit option, completely removing someone from the team. This is costly, but sometimes it's the only way to salvage a situation. A manager who can diagnose the problem and identify the right solution is not only well equipped to get their team back on the right track, but can empower team members to handle future challenges themselves.
So this video talks about what we have seen. Um, well, it talks about the challenges, the strategies, and the main benefits. So now I'm going to sum up this a little bit. So um, I'm going to talk about the core elements. After that, we are going to see the challenges. So the core elements of anti-racist business strategy. Managing multicultural teams presents several challenges, as you will know, primarily stemming from cultural differences. One major issue is communication. Differences in verbal and non-verbal communication styles can lead to misunderstandings. For example, some cultures place high value in their communication, while others prefer silence and clarity. misinterpretation of non-verbal cues, such as facial expressions, gestures, and posture, can further complicate the interactions. Another challenge could be the decision making. In some cultures, decision making is highly centralized and controlled by top management, while in others, decision making is more democratic and decentralized. These differences can cause friction when team members have different expectations about how decisions should be made. Moreover, conflict management can become a challenge in multicultural teams um, because cultures have different attitudes towards confrontation. In some cultures, open disagreement is acceptable and even encouraged as a means of finding the best solution, while in others, maintaining harmony and avoiding direct confrontation is paramount. These differences can cause tension, especially in teams members from different cultural backgrounds do not understand or respect each other's approach to conflict. Lastly, bias and stereotypes can affect how team members interact with one another. Biases, whether unconscious or conscious, can affect hiring, performance evaluation, and day to day interactions. Stereotypes can also create barriers to effective teamwork and undermine the contributions of certain individuals. Leaders must address these issues head on to ensure an inclusive, respectful, and collaborative team environment. Um, Also, we have here like the main challenges, but first, as I mentioned, we could talk about the most important thing. And the most important thing, it would be um, the commitment from leadership. As you know, leadership commitment is fundamental to the success of anti-racism strategies. Leaders play a crucial role in setting the company's tone, values, and vision. They can drive organized change by demonstrating their commitment through public statements, accountability, and allocating resources to anti-racist initiatives. For instance, Microsoft has made diversity a central tenet of its operations. Microsoft's leaders have actively promoted diversity in the workforce, creating inclusively hiring practices and investing in scholarships for underrepresented groups. This example underscores how leadership can set an example that reverberates through the company. It could be, we could talk about the policies, the anti-racist policies. For example, the policies act as a formal framework that defines acceptable behavior, outlines consequences of for discrimination. Anti-racist policies may include anti-harassment rules, clear reporting processes, explicit and non-discrimination clauses, and hiring practices. These policies should be codified in employee handbook, making them accessible and understandable for implementing clear, robust anti-racist policies establishes a culture of accountability. Airbnb, for example, has implemented strong anti-discrimination policies to protect users and employees alike. Their policies prohibit any form of bias based on race, gender, religion, ensuring a welcoming platform for all. Um, I don't know, we could talk about the building accountability and transparency. For example, accountability requires tracking progress, measuring outcomes, and being transparent about both successes and areas that we need improvement. Transparency can be demonstrated through diversity reports and performance reviews that show the company's diversity metrics reveal any racial or ethnic imbalances in the workforce. A notable example it could be Google, which releases an annual diversity report detailing the workforce demographics. This practice shows Google's commitment to transparency, allowing the company and the public access, progress, pinpointing challenges. Um, the ongoing education and training, for example, training unconscious bias, cultural sensitivity, anti-racism is essential in creating awareness and promoting understanding among employees. Training sessions can include workshops, guest speakers, and interactive activities, all aimed at helping employees recognize how to challenge their biases. Company that prior- priori- prioritizes training is Starbucks, with it has implemented widespread anti-bias training for its workforce. This training, launched in response to public incidents involving discriminations, cultural awareness, and proactive strategies to address biases. Employee support network and resource groups. Employee resource groups provide spaces where employees for underrepresented backgrounds can find support, mentoring, and opportunities for advancement. Empower employees by allowing them to share their experiences and connect with allies. For example, Intel has successfully created ERGs focused on racial equality, women's empowerment, um, LGBTQ plus inclusion. These groups provide feedback directly to management, creating feedback loop that ensures policies remain relevant to employees' needs. Um, as I have mentioned, we have here some main challenges, like the communication, as we mentioned, the misunderstandings in due to different verbal and non-verbal styles, direct versus direct, as we have mentioned, the conflict resolution to handle cultural misunderstanding constructively, ensuring them cohesion, decision making, varying expectation about centralized versus decentralized approach, and bias and stereotypes. We have to ensure an inclusive, respectful, and collaborative environment. It's one of the challenges that I have mentioned before. So we have here some strategies, as I mentioned. Build inclusive leadership. Leaders should be open to adjusting their leaders' style by based on the cultural norms of their team members. Facilitating open communication ensure that team members are aware of the importance of adapting their communication style to cultural norms of their colleagues. Also, utilizing technology for cross-cultural collaboration. Platforms like video conferencing, collaborative workspaces, and messaging apps enable real-time communication, make it easier for team members to collaborate. Um, Also, another strategy is promoting diversity and inclusion, adapt leadership style to teams members' cultural norms, as we have mentioned before. Encouraging collaboration. Diverse teams can produce innovative solutions when encouraged to collaborate and share ideas. Equal opportunities ensure all team members can contribute regardless of cultural background, addressing bias and promoting anti-racism, addressing unconscious biases, implementing inclusive hiring practices, and promoting employees with tools to recognize and challenge discrimination. As I have mentioned Microsoft, Google, Starbucks, but we have here another companies like Nike that leverage advertising campaigns to spotlight racial justice issues, fostering consumer trust. Um, I should mention, in order to finish what I have said, that in order to addressing bias and promoting anti-racism, as outlined in Harvard Business Review's article on anti-racist business strategies, companies must take a proactive approach to combating racism and promoting equity in the workplace. This includes addressing to unconscious biases, implementing inclusive hiring practices, and promoting employees with tools to recognize and challenge discrimination. By adopting anti-racist policies and promoting diversity, organizations can create more equitable and inclusive work environment for all employees. Um, Also, utilizing technology for cross-cultural collaboration. Technology plays a significant role in facilitating communication and collaboration among multicultural teams, particularly when team members are located in different geographic regions. Platforms like video conferencing, collaborative workspaces, and messaging apps enable real-time communication, making it easier for team members to collaborate regardless of time zones or physical distance. Here we have in this section the specific actions taken by leading companies. So before I mentioned Microsoft, the main action that takes it was to increase the representation of minorities in leadership through mentorship and scholar programs targeting underrepresented groups. Uh, Also, Google that takes into account that kind of actions, mm, make diversity reports that highlight areas for improvement and drive transparency, as I mentioned before. Coca-Cola created Coca-Cola created initiatives such as, for example, this one, initiatives to support minority entrepreneurs and improve supplier diversity. Nike leveraged advertising campaigns to spotlight racial justice issues, fostering consumer trust. Starbucks launched nationwide anti-bias training for its stores. Airbnb implemented policies to eliminate racial discrimination among hosts and guests. Also, we have here a video of how to reduce bias in our workplace. I'm going to okay, I am going to put this video I have here. Okay, so we are going to see this video. We are going to know the keys to manage this problem on our workplace.
We all have our biases, the set of assumptions that we make and the things we don't notice about people's race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, appearance, and other traits. They come from the part of our mind that jumps to conclusions that we might not even be aware that we have.
I really can't tell you the number of times people assumed I was the receptionist when I was an executive at the company.
That kind of bias gets in the way of good collaboration performance, and decision-making.
It creates an invisible tax of resentment and frustration. The more frustrated we are, the more silent we are likely to be. And the more silent we are, the less we may be able to do our best work. The good news, though, is bias is not inevitable. So here's how to disrupt bias in 3 steps. The first step is to create a shared vocabulary. Sometimes bias shows up in big, embarrassing gaffes, but more often it comes out in the little words and phrases we choose, which are packed with assumptions. In meetings especially, these often go unnoticed, or even worse, people notice, but don't know what to say. That's why we recommend coming up with a shared word or phrase that everyone agrees to use to disrupt bias, attitudes, or behaviors. Examples teams are using are bias alert, stoplight, or even throwing up a peace sign.
Leaders often ask us to give them the right words, but the best words are the ones your team will actually say, not the ones that leaders impose. So talk to your team. My very favorite is the one that you recommended, Trier, purple flag. When someone says or does something biased, we'll say purple flag, and maybe we'll even wave a purple flag. It's not a red flag, it's a friendly purple flag.
It helps us become more aware of our blind spots.
Purple flag.
Purple flag. Thanks for pointing that out. I've been noticing lately I use a lot of sight metaphors that often portray disabilities like being visually impaired in negative ways, but I'm committed to doing better and working on it.
I am too. Another great shared vocabulary trick is to ask members of your team to respond to bias with an I statement. An I statement invites the other person in to understand things from your perspective rather than calling them out. Like, I don't think you're going to take me seriously when you're calling me honey, or I don't think you meant that the way that it sounded. Usually, when people's biases are pointed out to them clearly and compassionately, they apologize and correct things going forward. Usually, but not always.
That brings us to the second step. Create a shared norm for how to respond when your bias is pointed out.
When my bias is flagged, I can only be glad that I'm learning something new if I can move past the shame. I hate the idea that I've harmed someone. And when I feel ashamed, I rarely respond well. So it's really helpful to have that shared norm so that I know what to say in those moments.
We recommend you start with, "Thank you for pointing that out. It took courage for that person to disrupt the bias, so it's important to acknowledge that." Then there are 2 choices on what to say next. 1, I get it, or 2, I don't get it. Could you explain more after the meeting?
The other day, you and I were recording a podcast, and I said HR serves 3 masters, and you waved the purple flag. I knew what I had done wrong. Why was I using a slavery metaphor? We hit pause, I thanked you, and we re-recorded. It was no big deal. The thing I love about the purple flag is how efficient it is.
Flagging the bias didn't prevent us from getting the work done. In fact, it helps us work together more honestly.
It's even harder when I don't know what I did wrong. Once I asked someone out to lunch. Out came the purple flag. I had no idea why. So I was relieved to know what to say next. Thank you for pointing it out, but I don't get it. Could we talk after the meeting? Afterwards, the person reminded me that they were fasting for Ramadan. It instantly made sense to me, and I discovered something that I could be more aware of. But to get to awareness, I had to move through shame. It was hard to say, I don't get it. The shared norm helped me listen and learn rather than getting defensive. The fact that there was a norm at all reassured me that other people are making similar kinds of mistakes and that we're all learning together.
Disrupting bias may start off feeling uncomfortable, but with time and consistency, we can build the stamina we need to push through it. When it becomes routine for us to notice our biases, all of a sudden, they feel less threatening. It's hard to break bias habits, yet we can change the pattern with consistent effort.
We've got to be patient with ourselves and with others.
Patient and also persistent.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our last step. Once a team has come up with a shared vocabulary and agrees on the shared norm for how to respond, the team should commit to disrupting bias at least once in every meeting.
If bias isn't flagged in a meeting, it doesn't mean there wasn't any bias. It just means either nobody noticed or nobody knew what to say. When we are silent about bias, we reinforce it. And it can't be just the targets of bias who point it out. Observers and leaders have got to speak up. We all have a responsibility.
By making a practice of disrupting bias quickly and kindly, we prevent it from metastasizing into something worse, like prejudice, bullying, discrimination, or harassment.
Bias disruptors, a shared vocabulary, a shared norm, and a shared commitment ensure that we notice and learn from the mistakes that we are all making so that we can work better together.
When we collaborate, we use our full capacity as humans to get more done collectively than we could ever dream of accomplishing as individuals. So
Sorry, we have a little
let's stop
problem.
letting bias get in the way.
Okay, so as we have, okay, now I'm going to trying to sum up what's a bias, how to manage this bias. So the first thing, bias refers to prejudices or tendencies that affect our judgment, often without us realizing it. It can be conscious. eh, For example, these ones that are explicit, where someone knowingly holds preferences or a stereotype, or unconscious, implicit, where ingrained beliefs subtly influence decisions and interactions. Bias can manifest in many areas, as the video mentioned, including hiring, workplace dynamics, social interaction, and even decision making or in everyday life. For example, there are five different types of bias. The confirmation bias, favoring information that supports our pre-existing beliefs. The affinity bias, preferring people who are similar to us. Gender bias, stereotyping based on gender. Racial or cultural bias, making assumptions based on race or cultural backgrounds. Halo effect, assuming someone is good at everything based on a single positive trait. So the question, how to combat bias? We have like 7 steps. Acknowledge it. The first step is recognizing that everyone has biases. The second one is educate yourself, learn about different cultures, perspectives, and experiences. The third one would be slow down decision making, avoid snap judgments, take time to evaluate choices objectively. The fourth one would be expose yourself to diversity, engage with people from different backgrounds. The fifth one would be encourage open conversations, create safe spaces for discussions about bias and discrimination. Um, the last ones would be use of the data driven decisions. In hiring or promotions, rely on objective criteria rather than subjective impressions. Um, the last one would be implement bias training. Many organizations offer training programs that help employees recognize and reduce bias. So, as you will know, eliminating bias completely is difficult, but by being aware and making conscious efforts, we can reduce its impact and create a more fair, inclusive environments. So, um, I'm thinking about talking a little bit more about companies. So we have here like 6 different companies, but I wanted to highlight some more. For example, Apple launched the Racial Equity and Justice Initiative in investing 100 million in underserved communities. Um, For example, Amazon has invested in internal anti-racist training and created initiatives to support Black-owned businesses on its platform. Established $2 billion fund to support Black-owned businesses and promote racial equity. Then Aries and Jerry's, the company has been vocal about social justice issues, actively using its brand platform to advocate for racial equality, publicly supported social justice movements and restructured internal operations to prioritize racial equity. Another one would be Meta or Facebook, now Meta. Uh, it has developed internal initiatives for racial justice as well as increased oversight of harmful content on its platform, dedicated $1 million to support suppliers from diverse backgrounds. And Visa, for example, has implemented recruitment programs aimed at creating a more diverse workforce and provides training to address workplace biases, introducing diversity training programs, and expanded opportunities for minority-owned suppliers. And that would be it. So we have uh, a little bit of we have more information about these companies. We have like a masterclass about bias and how to combat biases. And now we are going to talk about the strategies for success. As we have seen, we are looking for benefits, but we have to take into account the strategies for success. The main thing that we are going to do is inclusive leadership. Managers should model inclusivity, encourages input from all members, and ensuring everyone has equal opportunities to contribute. Via communication, the language barriers and different communication styles can create misunderstandings. Providing clear, structured communication channels helps reduce miscommunication. So goals. Setting objectives reinforces unity with a team. So when the team members work toward a common purpose, cultural differences become a strength rather than an obstacle. And recognition of cultural contributions. As you will know, celebrating diverse cultural practices and holidays can help team members feel recognized and respected, fostering a sense of belonging. So, how to implement that? As the video mentioned, we have um, a diversity and inclusion committees. Many companies form D&I committees to advise on policies and drive cultural change. These committees represent a range of perspectives and work to ensure that diversity initiatives aligning with employees' needs. Um, Anonymous feedback channels, providing employees with a way to report concerns or share experiences without fear, helps companies a lot, I would say. Monitoring and measuring progress, collecting data on diversity employee satisfaction and incidents of discrimination allows companies to track progress. Metrics like employee turnover among minorities and feedback and company culture are valuable indicators. Um, um, that would be it, more or less. So, in order to finish this class, I'm going to talk about the benefits. So, the main benefits it would be the enhanced creativity, diversity perspective lead to innovative solutions, improve problem solving. Different approaches contribute to a comprehensive problem analysis. The global market advantage, understanding diverse culture sets in international market expansion. And the last one, it will be the increase in employee satisfaction. Inclusive environments boost morale and retention. So I have to point out that the building of trust in diverse teams. So as we could see, trust in the is the foundation of effective teamwork, especially in multicultural settings. Managers must clarify expectations and facilitate open dialogue. It would be clearly communicate team goals and individuals' roles to avoid misunderstandings from cultural differences, encourage employees to share their perspectives without fear or judgment, as I mentioned before. In order to talk about the conflict resolution, the cultural misunderstandings may arise due to different communication styles or workplaces norms. So, effective conflict resolution strategies include cultural mediation and training in emotional intelligence, developing employees' ability to navigate interpersonal conflicts through self-awareness and empathy. Um, Also, it could be interesting to um, talk about the representation. So, diverse leadership. As you know, the representation matters. Diverse leadership teams serve as role models and advocates for anti-racism. They bring various perspectives to decision making, fostering inclusivity at all levels. Um, as we could see, we have also like main benefits, but we could talk also about, I would say, uh, the intercultural values, the future of intercultural values in global companies. So, as you will know, as businesses continue to operate across borders, the integration of intercultural values will evolve um, to address emerging challenges and opportunities. So, the first thing it would be increased focus on intersectionality. In the future, intercultural values will go beyond cultural or national differences to include other intersecting identities such as gender, disability, sexual orientation, or age. Intersectionally ensures that all aspects of an employee's identity are considered in inclusion strategies. For instance, a Black woman from Brazil may face unique challenges shaped by both her race and her gender. Companies must address these overlapping dimensions of identity to create equitable environments. The second one, it would be technology's role in supporting intercultural integration. Advancing technology are reshaping how intercultural values are practiced in global companies. Translation and communication tools like Google Translate or AI power meeting platforms facilitate seamless communication between teams speaking different languages. Remote work inclusivity. Virtual collaboration technologies make it easier to integrate global teams, but companies must ensure that remote employees from different cultures feel as included as those in office. The ethical A. Companies must ensure that A systems um, used in recruitment or perform evaluating are free from cultural or racial bias. For example, EVM's Watson A has been designed to avoid biases by undergoing rigorous testing for inclusivity. The third one would be the emphasis on sustainability and global citizenship. Matter businesses are increasingly expected to align with global social goals. For example, companies are adopting frameworks like Sustainable Development Goals to emphasize their commitments to human rights, environmental sustainability, and social equity. Um, for example, in Patagonia, um, is Patagonia, which integrates sustainability and ethical practices while respecting the diverse communities its impacts. Also, global standards for intercultural competency. The future may bring unified standards for intercultural practices across industries, organizations like International Organization of Standardization, ISO, and the and Global Compact are likely to develop benchmarks that guide companies in adopting best practices for intercultural collaboration, provide measurable outcomes for assessing success in fostering inclusive workplaces. Um, Yet the generational shifts in workplace expectation, younger generations, millennials and Gen Z demand inclusive and equitable work environments. These generations prioritize the workplace diversity and the global mindsets. I don't know, the shift toward cultural innovation. Intercultural collaboration fosters innovation by combining diverse perspectives. Uh, Cross-cultural brainstorming sessions can produce groundbreaking ideas by merging different ways of thinking. Companies like 3M make attribute their succeed in product development to their globally diverse teams. And the last thing that I'm going to highlight, it will be the building resilience through intercultural competency. In an unpredictable world, as you know, intercultural values enhance a company resilience. During global crises such as pandemics or economic downturns, organizations with strong intercultural foundations are better equipped to adapt and support their employees. Multinational companies can serve as bridges with between cultures, promoting global unity and understanding during challenging times. Um, so the main conclusions of these sections that we have here, it would be like the implementation and evolution of intercultural values in global companies are essential for building inclusively innovative and resilient organizations, while challenges remaining solutions such as inclusive communication, leadership, buy-in, and technology-driven strategies are paving the way for a future where cultural differences are celebrated and leveraged for success. As we look ahead, the integration of these values will continue to shape the global business landscape, making it more equitable and interconnected. So, the main conclusions that we have here, now I'm going to thank you for your attention, but the main conclusions, I'm finishing with that. The global companies that embrace intercultural anti-racist values not only foster inclusivity, but also gain a competitive edge in today's globalized economy through leadership commitment, education, accountability, and innovative strategies. Businesses can pave the way for a more equitable future. This comprehensive exploration underscores that anti-racism not a static goal, but an ongoing journey requiring commitment, reflection, and action. And in conclusion, I must say that embracing intercultural anti-racist values is crucial for companies in today's diverse globalized world. By incorporating policies, training, and accountability mechanisms, companies can create more equitable and inclusive work environments. Through a commitment to these principles, global companies can enhance productivity, foster innovation, and build lasting positive relations with both employees and consumers. Um, that would be, thank you so much for your attention.